I'm Peter Block here at TCT in Washington, D.C. On my left is an unknown person, Patrick Serruys, who needs no introduction. Patrick is now at the Imperial College in the UK, and Patrick has been the guru of just about everything from 100 years ago until now. And now it is a new topic, which is bioresorbable scaffolds. So Patrick, the Absorb trial, an important trial because it looked at the longer term results of these bioresorbable scaffolds. So tell me about the trial, tell me about what you found, and then we'll talk a little about what this means.
Good. So that's basically a 501 patient randomized 2-to-1 between science, the metallic stent, and the bioresorbable. And you remember you interviewed me 2 years ago, 1 year follow-up published in the Lancet. Everybody was happy, non-inferiority, everything was fine. 2 scaffold thrombosed by accident due to the operator on day 1 and day 2. Now we are in the 3rd year, and I must say that globally it is disappointing. I think it can be fixed, but there are topics and issues that we have to understand. In a nutshell, what we have seen is, number one, more loss in the absorbed than in the metal. Since we had already an handicap in the MLD to start with, the handicap of the baseline plus the additional late loss, we end up with an MLD at follow-up which is small in the absorbed than in the science. And of course you pay the bill, 7% binary restenosis versus 0.7% for the metal. And it has some implication on the reintervention. So that's not dramatic, but it is inferior. What is a little bit more disturbing is that in that trial we have now 6 very late scaffold thrombos. And that is disturbing because basically we don't have a clear explanation for that. You know, the doctors and the corporation will always point the finger either to the patient, it was a bad patient, it is a bad device, and it's a bad operator. In this case, it's either a bad operator or a bad patient. But to be honest, I cannot pinpoint to what went wrong in these 6 patients. And it's dramatic because you have individuals who have every year, in the context of the trial, a maximal exercise testing. And suddenly, without warning, you have a STEMI, not a non-STEMI, but a frank STEMI. And I don't have an explanation for that. So one of these hypotheses, because we have watched that for 5 years in the first in man, is that there is maybe at some point some complex dismantling of the structures. And when these malleable struts in proteoglycan, because the polymer has disappeared at 3 years, get in contact with the blood, because there is a cyclic strain 100 times, 1,000 times per day, that things move, maybe something happens. We cannot prove it.
Yeah. So we've talked about this. I've talked about this with Antonio Colombo. He thinks maybe a strut falls into the lumen and then boom, you get a thrombosis. Unfortunately, we don't know the answer, as you just pointed out. But your honesty is to be applauded, first off, Patrick. I think that's terrific. What does this mean? Because one of the things Antonio told me, he said, whoa, yeah, of course. You know, we've had drawbacks from the early DES, and we've overcome that. And I've now seen some of the newer, thinner struts, bioresorbable scaffolds, and it's going to be very different. They're more malleable and so forth. What do you think?
No, I think like Antonio, you know, my whole life has been hype and then setback and then you rebuild. I was just talking with a British cardiologist. You know, in 1982, I had a debate with Raphael Balcon. Maybe you remember Raphael Balcon in London. The title of the debate was PTCA is doomed to disappear. And I lost that debate miserably. But, you know, the year after, we had the long wire of John Simpson. You remember my first New England in '91. I mean, you had an editorial, 25% of occlusion in stenting. You remember the brachytherapy. That's something disappeared definitely. drug-eluting stent. Exactly 10 years ago, in 2006, we have the SC Storm. So I think it's a setback. I think that big corporation is very honest. They accept that fact. They try to put more emphasis about the implantation, but 3 years, it's a long time to see the result of your crime 3 years before. So I think the good news is, like Antonio said, is the field is in full motion. I mean, I see every day in the context of bioengineering new tricks to make the struts strong, thin, and bioresorb more fast. And I get even more excited because now we have bioresorbable valve. And the 5 kits has been implanted and they have a follow-up of 2 years. And last week again I saw aortic valve, different type with bioresorbable material. So we go in that direction. You cannot afford to throw a bottle in the sea and it will stay there for 100 years. So,
I like that simile. In any case, a little disappointing at the front end, but I agree with you, Patrick. This bioresorbability is not going to go away, and we're going to see this in lots of different places. And I am sure that Patrick will be back here in another year or two.
Give us a chance to reconvene over 3, 4, 5 years, and the rest to talk about ET and the bioresorbable.
You got it. Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.